Hi, this is a recording of how to start up a Visual Studios Community Edition. And we'll just go through a few steps on that. First of all, you need to install it. And then the way it's installed is if you go and search for Visual Studios, then go to Downloads, and you have several different choices, but the Community Edition is the free edition, so we would download it. And I've already loaded it up. And so if I go here to my programs, then there are two Visual Studios that will come up is Visual Studios 2022 and Visual Studio Installer. And I also have installed the Visual Studio Code. And I have a second video that shows how to use that. Then on the installer, then this is where you choose what you want in your program. And so if I click on modify, then I have a few items here that are not really needed. The main one you will need is the C++ desktop development environment. I also, for enhancements, I also have the universal Windows platform. If you are not doing any Python development, do not have Python. And then only if you want to do the mobile development would you need the C++, or game development would you need the game development library. The main one is that, again, is the desktop development with C++. Then if I do install while downloading, then it'll go through the process, and notice then I have everything up to date, so I don't need this anymore. So I can close this, and then I can either launch it here or else go back in. And then come back to Visual Studios and launch the 2022, and it'll bring up the editor. Then I'm going to create a new project. And notice I have empty project here already, but I can select the language I want to use. In this case, I'm selecting C++, and empty project is the first one. The console projects are all nice and everything, but unless you're doing some application that do some other fancy stuffs, then I would just say, to begin with, just use the empty project, because that brings up the least amount of overhead. I have a projects directory, and then I'm just going to call it starting CPP, and create. This will create a project for me. And not feedback. Now notice then I have in here, this is brought up by View Solution Explorer, and this is where most of the work is done. Then if you want to create a new code, I can just say new item, and either I can make a class or just a CPP file. And I am just going to make a CPP file for now. And then see, it tells me, asks me what I want to name it. And so I'll just name it starting CP. I can name it anything I want, but starting CPP matches the project name, so that's as good as any. Or I can just name it main. I prefer changing it from source. That's my own personal preference. So if I do an add, notice now I have a main. And I go through and I just usually put a header comment explaining what I am doing in this case. So then this is, I'll just call it main.cpp. Who is the author and what date I'm doing it. And today's date is, according to this, 23 January 2023. And then the purpose. And again, I usually have a purpose and a place to modify. And the purpose is to write a simple example of a C++ program in VS for Visual Studio. Okay. Then we have here, and all programs have to start with an int main. Then if I want to do something like cout, then I would need a library. And I would do a pound include. And then with C++, it is a less than. That's not a pound. Now, IOStream, when you have this, this is part of the standard library. And there's two things you can do now, depending on which you prefer. You can either type in std : cout, hello world, and to put in an end of line, you can do an endl at the end. Or else right now it says it seems to be working. I can also put a \n there, which will just put in a new line. Oh, I know what the problem is. Never mind. Again, I usually put something in here that is using namespace std, which will then mean that I don't have to do the standards here. And then I can use endl by itself, and that works fine. Otherwise, I can put an std in front of this, or else I can take off the std : here using this. So this is your choice. So then that is the program. And then either I can come up here and build, or else I can just do local debugger and just go ahead and start it. And if it's not compiled, it'll compile it for me. brings up something, and notice it says hello world, prints out the enter, and that's the first program. So hopefully this makes some sense. And go ahead and stop this.